Hey, it's me, Joseph, and I'm in my new studio space, which as you can see, is quite large and quite incomplete. So the first thing that I needed to accomplish to make sure that I can actually use this space is to build a vocal booth. So I looked up a bunch of videos about how to make a vocal booth, and I found one that suited my limited skill set as a handyman, and that's from Musician on a Mission, and I'll link that in the description so you can check out that video. And I'm just gonna show you what that looked like for me and do a before and after test with the sound of the vocal booth. And maybe I'll clean up the studio a little bit too while I'm working on this. Definitely didn't think about how long these guys were gonna be. Ugh. So I was using these big PVC pipes, and I don't really have a good work table, so I have this little foldable table that my mom gave me, along with like a sewing machine that I've literally never used. And you can see here that I was really struggling with this stupid little yellow PVC cutter tool that just like didn't have enough strength. So definitely needed to use a ratcheting tool, but I didn't even know that that existed. And the original video says to use a hacksaw, and I think he had another tool to keep it in place, but I didn't have that tool, so I was just hacksawing away off the table, and so the cuts are really, really ugly. They look terrible, and I think that affected the stability of the overall structure, so I would not recommend. I would not. I would definitely get better tools than what I had, for sure. So building it was pretty simple. He gives you this great diagram that you can follow, and this part was actually really fun. It kind of felt like building a giant Lego set. Definitely took me a second to figure out how to orient the whole thing. Unfortunately, when I got to the moving blankets part, my camera died on me, so I don't have any footage of me actually hanging the blankets, but basically I took a pair of scissors and just like stabbed through the top of the moving blankets and then put the curtain rings in them and then onto the PVC. They were detachable. I could just take them apart and put them on there. And that makes it so you can close and open the front as well. So now we're in the studio space after I've finished the vocal booth and I did some rearranging. It's obviously like a week later because I'm wearing totally different clothes. But you can see I still haven't figured out what to do with my cables, and I've got some guitar cases that I got to figure out what to do with. There's actually a whole area of just like stuff that doesn't have a home yet over here, but things are looking good. I made the vocal booth quite large, a little bigger than maybe I thought it was going to be, but I think that's going to work to my advantage because I think I could literally fit the whole drum kit in it if I wanted to. But I wouldn't want to do that because there's all this nice room reverb in here that might sound really cool for drums. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm very happy with the result of the DIY booth. I already did a recording with Calissa in there as well as just like a little test, so without taking up a whole bunch more of your time, I'm going to show you what it sounds like with just a raw vocal. You can take your time. You can take your time. Look around and see what you can find. Look around and see what you can find. But when you get back, I won't be waiting here. But when you get back, I won't be waiting here. No, I won't sit back, patient for your ear. No, I won't sit back, patient for your ear. I'm particularly impressed with the way that the vocal booth sounds because I was using that SM7B. The SM7B isn't usually one that picks up a whole lot of everything that's going around. It's usually a little better at just picking up like what's right in front of it. And even with that microphone, you could hear the huge difference in the room verb between the in the room sound with the booth and without the booth. I also ended up recording a quick update to Kalissa and my reel for Pale September that we just did in there, a couple cover songs just to test what it sounds like. Again, I want to reiterate that I have no skills. I cannot build things, and I was able to do this. It was very, very easy. I did end up having to use 10 PVC poles as opposed to 7 is what he recommended. I think that's just because my build was a little bigger. The way the poles had to be divided didn't line up perfectly to where I could get 2 poles out of each one, so I ended up having to, buy extra ones to make sure I could get the right length. It was kind of a whole thing, but it was pretty easy. It cost me around $300 to do it, and then several hours. You have to get a PVC cutter that has a ratchet if you want to do this well. Do not use a hacksaw. Just don't do it. It's a huge waste of time. I'll show you what I use. This freaking guy. This thing is amazing. So I had one that doesn't have a ratchet first, and I was trying to use it, and it was like really had to. But then once I got this one, it's just like and eventually it pops right off. It's amazing. So get one of these before you do it. It was like less than 20 bucks. Totally worth it. Go ahead and go over to Musician on a Mission's YouTube channel, and Rob will give you the specific instructions on how to do this. Although my addition would be make sure you have this guy. I also just used moving blankets from Home Depot. I didn't use the specific acoustic treatment blankets that he recommended. So those were like 20 bucks each, except for the big one on top, which was like 40. So I ended up using 5 blankets. And I used the curtain rings to just kind of fasten all of the blankets on the side as well as the top. Since mine is 7 feet tall, some of the blankets don't quite touch the ground, so I'm going to be taping or gluing or something my old bass traps from my bass traps video. Those little small boys, those foam guys. And I'm just gonna put those on the bottom to help seal it. For now, I put some foam guys just like behind the booth and next to the booth where there's gaps, and it made a pretty big difference on just making sure that it's a little more sealed from the room noise. So having been recorded with a closet setup, I think this is vastly superior. It sounds better and it's more comfortable. I think my clients are going to be a lot more comfortable in this thing than they were, being in the closet with all of my clothes and just like random foam and stuff. So if you are like me and you produce your own music and produce other people's music, but you don't have like a high-end studio yet, I think this is probably the best solution that you'll find without actually getting into like woodworking and like building out a serious vocal booth. Anyway, I'm looking forward to making some music with better sounding vocals now, and I'll see ya in the next one. You can take your time.